Uh,
This song goes out to all the veterans. Thank you. Why my people gotta suffer? They would do anything, even get their life for everything freedom brings. Why some homeless? That shouldn't even be.
This song is gonna make me cry, just so you know.
Sleeping on the sidewalks, living on the streets. Just years ago, they was keeping freedom free. People judging them, the same ones we fought for. I guess after war, we ain't important anymore. Why our country don't see us? Why I turn the cheek? Why I cry for help? They don't even hear us speak. Thought y'all love us, y'all wore yellow ribbon. Thought y'all support us, but don't care how we live. We fought for freedom, but they take our lives. When the money comes first, then we all come
Hi guys, welcome in. If you could hit the share button, we have a special guest tonight. We are listening to the song Why by Soldier Heart. It's one of the one songs that make me cry.
Why people here at home seem to turn their backs? When we ask for help, they don't even acknowledge that. We will give a life for you, yeah, that's a fact. Why I'm hurting and y'all don't even seem to care. Talking to us, but don't seem to hear it clear. Why pretend? Why not keep it real? I'm speaking for vets, that's really how we feel. Why 23 vets kill themselves every day? There's a problem going on, you can see it on our face. Why? I'm asking, please tell me, we need some answers. Will someone hear me? Why? We fought for freedom, but they take our lives. When the money comes first, then we all come back. We fought for freedom, but they take our lives. Oh, said it's time for a change. Why do we suffer now? Why are we taking advantage of? Some non-profits using name and steal from us, pretending that they care, but all they want is fat pockets. And while we can't find work, most of us jobless. Why the VA take forever today? Why it took years.
So for those just joining, this is Soldier Heart and Why. It is probably going to be the theme song for KOVH for quite some time if you listen to the words just a little longer.
So they labeled us as pissed off veterans, but they the reason why we pissed off veterans. Why? We fought for freedom, but they take our lives. When the money comes first, then we all come back. We fought for freedom, but they take our lives. Oh,
If you have not heard this song from the beginning and all the way to the end, please go to YouTube and search for Soldier Heart and Why. He actually has a second one that's a response to this one. It is a veteran, a combat veteran, who is using his music to send powerful messages, and this one gets me every time.
Have to go home and break down and cry. Have to be living on the streets at night. We fought for freedom, they take our lives.
If we could get the share button going, we have a special guest tonight. This is something I am so excited to be able to do, and I hope to do more of.
Said it's time for a change. Why do we suffer now? This song goes out to all the veterans out there. Keep your head up. We got each other. Hey, Boone, tell them.
I want you to continue to isolate us, because the more you isolate us, the more we come together and help ourselves. Please, isolate us, because it's making us stronger and stronger and stronger.
So that was Soldier Heart and the song Why. If you are a veteran and you have not heard that song from top to bottom, please go to YouTube and listen to it. If you are an American in this country, please go take a minute to YouTube. Not right this second because we've got a guest. But I want you guys to go please listen to it. That is going to be the theme song for KOVH every time we start up. That is what I'm going to play. Those words are the most powerful things I have heard in a song in a long time, talking about how it should never be okay for a single veteran who has put so much on the line for this country to be forced to endure losing their home, much less homeless. Their lives matter every day, whether they are still serving or they are out and are living amongst us in their communities as veterans with their families, they already are owed the respect, and they deserve that hand up, never a handout. And we're failing to make sure that they get that. So tonight is going to be different. We are not going to do the gaming side of things, because I got really lucky. If those of you who are in here tonight were in here last night, we were having fun and hanging out, and we came across an individual who it turns out to be an amazing find for us, because he's just so great. But we're not doing the game tonight. Instead, I'm going to hand things over to Pappy, because he's going to tell you what we're actually going to do tonight. So I'm going to mute my mic and give you to Pappy.
All right, guys. First, make sure you're tapping the screen. Share this out to everybody. What you're going to hear tonight is a very important message. I don't want to call it a story, because this is not just a story. There's a message behind this and why we need you to share this out. 2, don't forget that while you're watching the screen, while you're watching and listening, if you send gifts, we're going to give you a reward for that gift. If you're over on Purple and you're sharing out, for every 200 bits that you give out, we're going to give you 1 ticket. For a subscription, we're going to give you 2 tickets. If you're on TikTok and you give us any gift with the value of 1 coin up to 200 coins is going to get you 1 ticket. And after you go over that, I will give you tickets based upon the value after that. If you subscribe on TikTok, we are going to also give you 2 tickets. So anything that any gift you give, we're going to give you something back in rewards. And what do these tickets go for? Well, these tickets are going for our waffle. Now, those of you on Purple, just know that it's raffle, but because of TikTok, we got to use waffle. This is right now, tonight is the t-shirt and candle, t-shirt or candle that we're going to give away at the end of the month. You will get a choice. Whichever one you choose, that's the one that you'll get. And then we'll raffle off the other one to the group that's left. Now, with that said, that is what's going on. Just remember, we need you to tap and share and let other people join us. If you're on YouTube, I'm sorry, we don't have a way for you to gift right now, but we will come up with a way. I mean, all you got to do is follow us over on Purple, which is that thing that you do with your face, the twitchy thing, and TikTok, and you can do the gifts through there and get in. But tonight, what we are doing, instead of our normal routine of doing the gaming stuff, we're doing a sit down with our friend Robert Green. He is an Army veteran. And at the end of this, I'm going to introduce a new title for him. But we're going to turn the mic over to him, let him share his story and how he got connected with us last night. So, Robert, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all for having me. I appreciate the introduction. I hope I live up to the hype. I wanted to come on here and get associated with you guys and talk with y'all, which we've been talking for the last few hours actually. But I enlisted in the Army right out of high school. I graduated high school right after my 18th birthday, and I went off to Fort Benning, Georgia, where I attended boot camp at AIT and then airborne school. And this was early 2002. Right after airborne school, I got orders to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where I deployed to Afghanistan, and right after that to Iraq, where I served as a 11 Bravo airborne infantryman. Greatest job in the military at the time. Not so great for your back and knees later on, but I didn't know that at the time. I turned 19 in Afghanistan. I turned 20 in Iraq. When I left Iraq, I had I was up for a reenlistment, and so I reenlisted and decided I wanted to travel. So I reenlisted to go to the airborne unit of Fort Polk, Louisiana, the 509th, where I stayed for a few years. Did a couple of years there, a few more tours, and then reenlisted to go to the airborne unit in Alaska. And while I was on leave, the Army decided that they were going to redesignate a unit as a striker unit. And so I got sent to Fort Lewis, Washington, or now it's Joint Base Lewis McChord, I believe, as a striker unit. Did some time there and ended up getting hurt and ultimately medically retired from the military in 2009. From 2009 to 2013, there was a lot of going back and forth to different military bases for evaluations and medical tests and a bunch of stuff to see if I had gotten any better or if I was still fit for military service to put me back on active duty or to go ahead and take me off the temporary disability list and permanently retire me. 2013, the decision was made to permanently retire me. And the Department of Defense had assigned me 100% disability retirement. And the VA had rated me, I believe, at 60. Back and forth going through the VA over the years, fighting with them over a bunch of different claims and stuff. I ended up being fortunate enough to get to where I'm at today of 90% permanent and total individual unemployability because of injuries sustained in combat or through service. And right around 2020, my wife and I decided we were going to buy a house because we had our 3 daughters, and my son from a previous relationship had gotten into some trouble and had to come live with us. We didn't have enough room, so we used a great benefit that the VA offers, the VA home loan, and we used that to buy our first home. We got a great interest rate. Everything was, worked great. We got moved in. Everything was fine. COVID happened. The world stopped. My wife ended up losing her job. We had a loss of income. We had another mouth to feed. And the mortgage company I had at the time told me about a program that was offered through the VA called the COVID forbearance. This COVID forbearance gave me an option to basically not have to make a mortgage payment for 3 months in order to help me get a couple things paid off and change my financial situation. It was presented to me as a way of helping me out. I was told my options were that I could do this COVID forbearance and they could take those 3 months and basically add them to the length of the loan, which I would have to pay interest on, or I could do any number of other loan modifications for repayment. And at the time, drowning in debt and trying to figure out how to provide for your family, it sounded like a lifesaver. Hey, the VA is offering this. This is great. they're really looking out for me. So I accepted the COVID forbearance. It didn't affect my credit. They didn't report to the credit bureau that I didn't make those payments. And I didn't have a payment for 3 months. I was able to pay some things down. Like, okay, great. 3 months come around. Mortgage company's like, hey, the COVID forbearance has been extended. Are you still experiencing this hardship? Well, we all know how long COVID lasted. My wife had not been able to find a new job. The company that she had worked for at the time was still closed. And so it was like, yeah, we're still experiencing this financial hardship. So like, we can go ahead and extend it. Not a problem. Sounded great. So we extended, which was great because with the loss of my wife's income and still having to provide for, food and utilities and car payments, insurance, the normal stuff. It was kind of a blessing. Here where I live in the state of Georgia, a lot of stuff was closed except for essential things. So certain grocery stores. And so it was kind of a blessing. And the price of things started going up, but it was like, don't worry about it. You're in this COVID forbearance, you have nothing to worry about. We can offer you another 6-month COVID forbearance. And again, at any time, we can do a loan modification, a repayment plan. We can add this to the end of the loan. It's not a big deal. You'll be fine. We don't report to the credit bureaus. Everything's good to go. You don't have to worry about anything. Just whenever this is over, we'll just review everything. We'll look at your financials, and just basically go through the application for a loan modification, and then you'll be fine. Sounded great. I didn't do my research at the time. I didn't go looking into state laws or federal laws. I took them at their word because it was a VA backed loan through what I earned through my military service. So we ended up staying on the COVID forbearance for almost a year. And within that year, the company my wife worked for decided to permanently close their doors and they were not going to reopen. So my wife had to update her resume, look for a new job or whatever. Also within that same year, my son, who had come to live with us, was doing virtual school and then went back to visit his mom for the summer. And while he was gone with her, she decided that she didn't want him to come back, so she filed through the state for child support, and it ended up saying that from the time he was with her for the summer, I ended up being several months behind on child support from the time she picked him up until we ended up going to court. And so they started garnishing my wages. At that same time, my mortgage loan was sold from my original mortgage loan to another mortgage company. A new mortgage company had told me they have different options for the COVID forbearance that do not include adding it to the end of the loan, but they do offer loan modifications and repayment plans to help me keep my house and to help me get caught up. Which, okay, that's fine, except, initially I was told we could just add it to the length of the loan, and at this point it had been a year. So I got my new mortgage company and I was told that I had to apply for a loan modification in order for them to see what my options were. So I did. Now, at the time, I had a 2.8 mortgage or interest rate. My payments were just under $1,000. They came back with the loan modification of bringing me mostly current for 6 months. But my interest rate jumped to, I think I'm at a 4.6 right now. And my payment went from almost 1,000 to almost 1,600 a month. That was my option. I didn't have any other option, so I accepted it. And my mortgage rate changed, or my interest rate changed. My monthly payment changed. And that's what I got stuck paying with. So I'm like, okay, well, I did the loan modification. I'm good to go. I'm paying the new payment. I'm making my payments. It's higher than what I was expecting, but that was my option. Fast forward a few months, and I start getting letters from my mortgage company about how far behind I am and how there's resources that they can help me with. And as a matter of fact, what I'm holding right now is a letter I got from my mortgage company from August of 2024. And there's a pamphlet in it that says, "Let us help you save your home. We offer assistance. Eligibility is based on your specific circumstance and your investor insurer's guidelines. They offer issues for unemployment. They offer assistance for partial claim mortgage recovery or modification, or sell, short sell, or deed in lieu." Well, I didn't want to lose my house. And I'm still trying to provide for my wife and children. As you all know, since COVID, inflation has hurt everyone. And we felt that too. Our homeowners insurance has gone up, so my mortgage payments went up. Property taxes have gone up, mortgage payment went up. You all know, car insurance, groceries, all that stuff, it all keeps rising, right? I'm still only at 90% IU P&T. So we get to a point where I'm being notified that I am at risk of foreclosure because I am so far behind on my mortgage payment. And of course, I'm confused because I was like, well, wait a minute, but we had a forbearance and then we did a loan modification. So why am I at risk of foreclosure? Come to find out, it's not legal for them to add it on to the length of the loan. So all they did with the loan modification was take those payments and add it to what I owed on the house. And I'm at a point now where initially, I don't mind telling y'all this, I bought my house at 224. I've lived in it for 4 years. Because of the loan modification, I still owe 246 on my house. They told me that my options were to do another loan modification or to reach out to my state's HUD advisors. So I did reach out to my state HUD advisors, and they told me that without a letter of foreclosure in my hand, they had so many clients, there was nothing they could do at this time. So I'm like, okay. So my other option was the loan modification they offered, which again, I've already done one. This new loan modification that they offered me would change my interest rate to 7.3% and my payments to $2,400 a month. Or 20, I think it was 25, just over $2,500 a month. I have 3 daughters and a wife at home. With the stuff that happened with COVID, it was mostly my income we were surviving off of. With my pay, what I get is just barely over $4,000 a month. And they wanted my mortgage payment to be over 50% of my income. I can't afford that and pay my car payment and my car insurance and still buy, groceries and utilities, and I couldn't. So I could not take that loan modification. So I find myself in a situation of, well, the VA has put a stop on all foreclosures until December 31st of this year. I'm currently, because I have been making my mortgage payment and paying any extra that I can at the time to put into my unapplied funds account with my mortgage company, that they will not apply at all until I have a full month's payment in there. I have got to a point to where I am 3 months behind. They have let me know that they have recommended me for foreclosure, but they can't move forward with the process until after December 31st because of the VA policy. But that I have until that point to basically get caught up on 3 months of payments. So I have, this is October or something. I get paid monthly. And yes, COVID is over now, and my wife has gotten a new job now. But because of how much we were having to pay more on the mortgage to try to get caught up from being 6 months behind to where we are 3 months behind now, to not lose our house, other bills have fallen behind. I am 42 days late on my car payment. I am at a point where I have almost a half month's mortgage in my unapplied funds, but they will not apply it until I get a full month's mortgage payment in there to possibly remove me from the foreclosure situation. When I reached out to the VA to ask for assistance or guidance, they told me that I had to, my best option was to work with my lender to see what options they offered. The only option they offered was to double my mortgage payment. But again, every year since COVID, my homeowner's insurance has risen and my property taxes has risen. So the amount I owe monthly on my mortgage payment keeps increasing. And I don't know if any of you know this, or some of you veterans probably do, or veterans family members, but when a child turns 18, you no longer get to claim them as a dependent. And so they take that dependency pay away from you. Both my son and 2 of my daughters are all over the age of 18 now. So I've lost that dependency pay since then. So even though we get the cost of living adjustment every year, my pay has continued to go down. But like any parent who has children, just because they turn 18, those care for your children doesn't stop. Right? They still go to the doctor. They still have medical bills. They still have needs. The price of everything has still gone up, but the income has dropped. Now we're sitting in a situation where I called my mortgage company yesterday and I tried to make a payment for $150 to go to the unapplied funds. And they told me that they will not accept the payment unless it is in full for a full month. But I can go buy a money order and mail it to them. And they will process it sometime after they receive it in 7 to 10 business days. They will not accept the payment over the phone or through a card for anything less than a full month's payment. But they want to help me keep my house. The state won't help me because I don't have a letter of foreclosure. The VA won't help me because they want me to work with my lender. The lender won't accept the partial payment. Now, here's where I've been doing some research and kind of looking at everything. I've gone from 6 months behind to 3 months behind, and it has not been easy. We have sacrificed, we've scrimped. Like I said, I'm behind on my car payment. We've gone without. There's been times I've had to, we've had our electricity cut off for 3 or 4 days for not being able to pay it in time because we've been trying to get caught up on our mortgage because of this COVID forbearance that was offered as a safety net. And even if I get enough money in my unapplied funds to apply a full month payment to drop me from 3 months to 2 months behind, all that whole year that I was in the COVID forbearance, and I have not missed a payment since the loan modification, probably 15 months ago, 16, 18 months ago. All those payments I was making were considered, they would apply it to the latest month. I have late fees from all those months that have added up that they have not subtracted from. So even when I make and get enough money in the unapplied funds to apply to a mortgage payment, I still have all those late fees that have accumulated. And I know that they're going to screw me on that. They're going to be like, oh, well, because of the late fees, you're still behind X amount and you're still in foreclosure. The problem with all this is the state's not helping. The mortgage company's not willing to help. The VA is not willing to help. And it all comes down to, oh, well, we did everything we could to help you, but you're the one who went into the COVID forbearance. Okay, that is true. I did take the COVID forbearance. I should have done my research. I should have. But why in the hell does the VA and the federal government allow for laws to be, or companies to use predatory offers like, hey, this is to help you get ahead and to help you keep your house, when in reality it turns around to steal your house from you. And here's the thing, if you do get evicted using a VA loan and their house is foreclosed on, you lose a large portion of that VA home loan, if not all of it, and the right to use it again. And I'm not coming on here to tell y'all to feel sorry for me or that, oh, poor me, please help me pay my bills, anything like that. It's a very good possibility me, my wife, and my children are going to lose our house and have to figure out what the hell we're going to do. I came on here and I got connected with KOVH because it's not okay. My story is not unique. My story is not my own special case. There are hundreds of thousands of veterans in this country that were offered and told this COVID forbearance was there to help them and assist them to make things better for them, and has screwed them. That's why I came on here today. And now I'm in a situation where I have my wife at home. I have my youngest at home. I have one away at college who still relies on mom and dad for gas money, for money for books sometimes. I mean, she applied for many scholarships as she could and all that stuff, but she's 18. Kids still have needs and expenses. She still has to go to the doctor and still has those copays that she has to pay. My oldest daughter is 23. She's done with college and she is starting her career, but rent has gone up so much that even with what she's getting paid, her monthly salary isn't enough to cover rent. So she came back home to save up a little bit of money to try to get a first and last month's deposit while she's working and getting started in her career. And as a parent, as a veteran, as a husband, to have to look at your spouse or your children and be in a situation where you can't provide for them, you can't guarantee that they are going to have a bed to lay their head in at night, a roof to come home to come under if they need to come home. It's a crappy feeling. It's horrible. And the worst part about all of this is that in this instance, the veteran community was offered this COVID forbearance as a way to help them. When at the end of the day, there was no actual legislation or plan to keep veterans in their home. Even now, if I lose my home, the VA tells me, oh, well, we can give you a voucher to put you in a shelter. Well, you can give me a voucher to put me in a shelter. Okay. Why can't you help me keep my home? You can pay for a shelter or give me a voucher for a shelter, but you can't help me keep my home. Unfortunately, I am in a situation that, due to the extent of my disabilities from military service, I am not able to work. So I cannot go out and get a job and make more money. My VA disability is the only income I can get. And my wife is working, like I said, but again, we're behind on things. And yes, she's working, but we're still on a deadline. If we get farther behind on our car and they take our car, how's my wife going to get to work? She's going to end up losing her job. So I have to make the car payment, but if I make the car payment, I can't make extra on my mortgage payment. And if I don't make enough extra on my mortgage payment to get caught up before December 31st, I lose my house. So what am I supposed to do? It's a horrible feeling. It's horrible to see so many veterans in this country in this situation. And at first, when all this first started happening, I blamed myself, right? I shouldn't have took the COVID forbearance. I should have just found a way. I should have figured something out. But the more I talked to other veterans, the more I reached out and talked to other people, the more I've talked to KOVH, the more research I've done, the more I've reached out and networked, the more I've realized that there's hundreds of thousands of veterans across this country in this exact same situation. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that aren't veterans that are in this situation too. This is not okay. Why is it Americans are suffering and Americans are at risk of losing their home? Especially American veterans and family members who sacrificed for this country. By no means am I advocating for that a certain class of people should get anything for free. But as a community, as Americans, as veterans, as family members of veterans, what I am asking is that we come together, we support KOVH, we sign the petition, we demand that our elected officials do something, take action to make sure that our veterans and our families and those service members and their families who sacrificed a lot as well at least have some protections or avenues they can take to protect them from these predatory actions that have been taken against them in the name of helping them. As Americans, we should all be upset about this issue. Like I said, we are probably going to lose our house. We're probably going to have to declare bankruptcy. But I didn't come on here to give you a pity party or beg for help or anything like that. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for charity. But I am asking, if you're a veteran, if you're a family member, if you have friends who served, if you have loved ones who served, get connected with KOVH. Share this information, because I guarantee you I'm not the only one who's going through this. I'm not the only one in this situation. The only way things are going to change is if we get loud enough to make a change. You know, when I was younger, when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq, I wasn't thinking about the future. I was thinking that 9/11 happened and America needed to be protected. The American dream had to be protected for all of America. We have to protect our loved ones. We have to protect our fellow citizens. I mean, even now you see it with hurricane victims. You see neighbors coming together, bringing supplies, bringing medicine, bringing food to help their neighbors. That's what America really is. America's soul is about doing what's best for each other. And so that's why I wanted to get on here and share my story. Because as a veteran, as an American, we were offered programs with the sunny disposition of this is here to help you, that ended up being a way to make us homeless and take our houses from us. And that's never okay for any American. That's never okay for any service member. That's never okay for any person. Our veteran community deserves better. Our families deserve better. We as Americans deserve better from our government. So that's all I'm asking you to do is share this information, share my story, share this information out, get connected with KOVH, sign the petition, reach out to your local representatives, and let's hold America to its promise to take care of its veterans who took care of Americans. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Okay, as we get ready to take questions, you can enter them into the chat box. I am watching all 3 channels for questions. We just ask, as we said in the text, that you be respectful and let's inform ourselves. So if you have any questions, go ahead and start asking. Amy, you got any questions?
Now I'm still wondering why it's taken so long for me to cross paths with this guy, because this guy has got it all wrapped up. Like, I feel like I just need to hand everything over to him and just go on vacation, because he's good. He's just got it. He sounds like I did when my family first had our default papers taped to our front door. That story is not paid for. That story is not made up. Everything that happens on a VA mortgage ends up being public record, even if you have to file bankruptcy. So I have been telling people this has been a problem before COVID even became a thing. What has happened now is that the United States government has failed to make sure that there were programs and emergency programs and funding in place, that if veterans with VA mortgages fell into hard times, which you cannot tell me at any point in time that this country thinks it is so untouchable and so perfect that we are not going to have things like the COVID pandemic happen again. They knew that there were, in the past history of this country, things that have happened that we were hoping would not happen, but that did happen, which should have been an automatic sign that people needed to protect the people that are the reason that we have the lives that we have in the first place. So one of the biggest things that I get to see every time I go live or in my email box is these veterans don't want to work. They're entitled. They want everything for free. At any point in time while he was talking, did you get that sense? He is doing what he has to do to take care of his family. His wife is doing what she has to do to take care of their family. They are doing everything right and paying their bills, and they are still not okay because there is no help. So there are people who continue to say that there are all these amazing grants to pay off mortgages. There are not. When you are dealing with VA mortgages, they are a totally different type of mortgage than a conventional mortgage. The options are limited to what these lenders who are allowed to carry them actually will allow to happen. And it's not their doing, actually, by the way. It is the legislation and regulations by their investors and the government that dictate those things. So my lender went on a recorded call and flat out said, look, you keep calling mad at us, but we didn't do this to you. We think this is wrong. On a recorded line, mind you. And I said, well, then what is your excuse? If you see that this is happening and you can't help us, why are you not helping us? And he flat out said, because we are bound to follow what the government sets as legislation and regulations for these things to happen. So they're exempt. They automatically have wiped their hands out of anything. When you call them, they're going to look at a number. Your loan number is your little prison sentence number. And they're going to treat you like nothing. Because even though their mottos may be fancy and their flags may be flying on their websites, you're a number to them. You are a debt to them. It says it when you call in. So if you're not able to pay your bill, which is your mortgage, they don't have to care at all. You're not human to them. You are a debt. And everybody knows what happens when you don't pay your debts. These are veterans who have already taken the oath that has no expiration date, that would still put their lives on the line today. Nearly all of them. All of them have a family who either served beside them or who had the fortune of meeting them after they got out and were married into it. Either way, these are veteran families. They're not these gold families. They're not these prestige families. These are families who put the country before anything else. And we were told that when we served active duty. I was told constantly I didn't wear my husband's rank, but I didn't want that. I was just proud to be part of something that was bigger than just me being plain Jane Amy. That was it. We gave back every chance that we could. We had no expectations. My mistake was thinking that when we came off active duty and got handed our asses because my husband was not Filipino, that we were being punished for being white, that this country would have programs available to help us get back on our feet. even if we had to pay it back. I would have taken a loan. We weren't eligible for that. There are no grants to save us. There are no magic buttons to push to save us. The short list for what is allowed to happen with VA loans is the same across the board no matter how far behind you are. So before people say that there are these magic grants that will pay off your mortgage, I'm going to rephrase something that I've been saying since 2014 when I first started doing this. Because we didn't miss a payment until January 1st of 2015. So for 18 friggin' months, we did everything we could to make sure that our mortgage was paid for those 18 months. Come January 1st, however, we couldn't do it anymore because we had nothing left to sell. We had gotten nothing in help. There are no programs. There's no magic grant. What we had was excuses, political excuses, bipartisan excuses, and people coming into lives stating, you're just looking for handouts, you're begging for money. No, we want opportunities. I want my veteran families to have the jobs that they keep trying to apply for that are being turned away because they're overqualified or because they have PTSD and they're a risk somehow. Even though when they flip the coin and they try to get mental health help, they can't because there's a backlog. What I want are there programs to exist that have funding so that when Robert here says I'm 2 months behind, I need to get caught up or I'm going to start having problems with my car payment, he can get that money and pay that so that they don't take his house. He can work or his wife can work, whatever these family stories are, and get back on their feet. But those don't exist. There's no grant.
So, Amy, I'm glad you brought that up because you talked about what your lender told you about. They follow the guidelines set forth by the government.
Yep.
As I've mentioned earlier that I'm in a loan modification and they offered me another one, but it was just too expensive. Like I can't pay that. It's just not realistic. If I would have accepted it, I would have been right back in the same situation or worse because I can't afford that. One of the things is, like I said, I'm 40 some days behind on my car payment. But the crazy thing is, I haven't missed a car payment in over a year. But it keeps reporting on my credit every month that I'm constantly 30 days past due. Every month when I get my check on the first, I make the car payment, but I was so far behind when all this happened. So my credit has constantly been dropping. Even though I haven't missed a car payment in over a year, it still shows 30 days late every month.
See, that's predatory lending
so
to me.
It's really affected my credit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, on top of that, the loan company, the mortgage company, I had a lady one time, or when I called in to make a payment, she was telling me about their programs, and I told her I understand, but I don't want to apply for another loan modification because I can't afford what you guys are offering. She said, "No, I get that, but we're still going to do an application just to see maybe the terms are better." And I told her, "No, I didn't want to." She put an application through anyway. I made my payment through the phone, whatever. They sent me the term for the application. I called back and I said, "Hey, I didn't want to do an application for a loan modification. I'm making more payments when I can to put money in unapplied funds to try to get caught up, which is what helped me go from 6 months behind to 3 months behind. I did not want to do this application because I can't afford $2,600, $2,700 a month. I can't do that. So I don't want to accept that." They're like, "Okay, so do you want to deny the loan modification?" I said, "Yes, I didn't want to apply for it in the first place because I'm already on one." Well, by me denying that, they're now reporting that I've denied their help to keep me in my house.
That's what they're going to do. This is
Even
the
though
problem
I
I
didn't
have
want
with
to apply
that.
for it in the first place.
Yep, they don't
They're
care.
saying, "Well, we offered this and they denied it."
They don't care.
I can't afford it.
The moment that you turn down any of their options,
income.
it's over.
Exactly. And that's what I tried to explain to them. Like, you don't understand. With my VA disability, when each one of my children turn 18, I lose a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But those bills still remain. So my income has continuously gone down, but yet my property taxes go up, my homeowner's insurance goes up, my auto insurance goes up, my utility bill goes up. Like, everything is rising, except for my pay. And I'm already almost doubled what I was paying for the first loan modification. I cannot afford a loan modification of what you're offering. I cannot afford to double it again. It's just not possible. I cannot. There's no way I can afford it. Oh, well, you're denying our help. So you obviously aren't in a bad situation because you're denying what we're offering you. No, it's not that I'm denying what you're offering. I'm denying a situation that is unacceptable. You can't just come out with a number and be like, oh, well, what we're offering is for you to pay more than what you're making a month, and that's all we're going to accept. That's not realistic.
They aren't supposed to
But then
offer
they start
you
reporting
anything
as, oh,
like
well,
that anyway.
he denied it, so he doesn't want our
Yep,
help. We tried to help
exactly.
him, and
Exactly. You cannot spend more than a certain percentage of your income on housing anyway. They're not supposed to offer you anything that puts you above that. The loan mod won't get
no,
approved
they're not.
anyway. But they're
But then
doing
as soon
it
as
because they know that people do not have the knowledge to understand that that's not okay, this is falling under the predatory side of things that I keep telling people that they're doing. And yet the answer always is people coming in and saying, well, they have all these programs, you're wrong. They have all these grants, you're wrong. Sweethearts, I have been doing this since 2014. We got nothing from anybody for almost 7 years. We had to beg and borrow money just to go to court to get them to stop the auctions. We have had so many auction dates. I think we were up to 10. We had the longest running bankruptcy, not in the country. I think it's 15 years. We're at 10 years. 10! Don't tell me there's a grant, because there isn't a grant. They're not going to let us do things. I don't know how they got away with telling him that they're going to move the payments to the end of the mortgage. With a VA mortgage, no lender can move payments to the end of the mortgage. It's not possible. You can't do it. It takes a loan modification to do it.
Well, and think about it, right? They told me that with the option of other loan modifications, but then before the COVID forbearance ended, they sold it off, so they didn't have to honor it anyway.
Yeah, that's how they reset the process.
And on top of that, what a lot of people don't understand is, what is a VA loan? The VA guarantees a certain portion of it regardless.
Yes.
Meaning, if I choose not to pay, the lender is still going to get a certain portion of it regardless.
Yes. They're not losing
the lender will turn around and be like, hey, I know you can't afford this, but if I can just get you to sign it and then foreclose on it, I can resell the house, but the VA is still going to give me this money anyway, and you're still screwed, but I'm paid twice.
And yet I was told that they don't make money off of it. People don't understand. They do make money off of it. It is more beneficial for them to offer these loan mods. But here's the thing. It's the same thing with the stinking forbearance that we now are on. My family is back on a forbearance. We're now 2 months behind. That's what I keep telling people is there's no help. We have to help ourselves. There's no help. So when families are asking for help and you're sitting there shaming them because they're doing GoFundMes or trying to get you to donate money because they need help, this is why. There's no help coming. The legislation and regulations are written against us.
This is one thing I would like to express to people, like I've said on here, with me being the way my disability is and being unable to work. In January of 2023, only one of my children were over the age of 18. My VA base pay was $4,900. In January of 2024, $4,200. That's significant. The reason I say that is because with no incidences, no accidents, my car insurance has gone from $340 a month to $840 a month.
Oh my God.
In the same year.
Oh my God.
Not only am I paying, that much more in car insurance, I'm also paying or getting that much less in income. But guess what? You have to have an uninsured policy on your car insurance, but it's illegal not to have car insurance.
Yes.
But yet I still have to make my mortgage payment, and I still have to pay more than my mortgage payment, or I lose my house because I took a COVID forbearance to help me not lose my house.
That forbearance was the biggest mistake I think this country could have done to veterans, because here's why I can prove this to be true, you guys. When they created that plan, it was on the heels of this country and that previous administration from failing to act quickly enough to put things in place to prevent this from happening. The forbearance by full grand look was a great thing, because we have families who are more worried about losing their lives to COVID, watching their children suffer to COVID, regardless of who started it and why, that they didn't have to worry about that, right? But some of these families were put on it without any knowledge whatsoever. They were making payments, they kept making payments, they were put on it, they didn't have to, but because somehow, some way, something changed and their payments increased, they weren't aware of it, and it kept racking up. The problem is if you're 3 months behind into 4 months, you're now in default status. So what happens is, if you do not pay the full amount to get caught up, they will no longer take the payments. You can send them the money, but they're going to stick it in a side account. And if it's still short, like with what him and his problems are, they're going to save it until it equals the full payment, and then they'll apply it. But by then, you're already still another month behind. That's why we're 2 months behind, because we get paid at the end of the month with his disability. So we were already a month behind. We were short, not a full month. It was like $500. Well, by the time I paid the $500, the next month was due. So now we're basically the 2 months behind. The COVID forbearance was extended and extended to a tune of 18 months plus one more extension. And then it was pretty much up to the lenders, who follow the regulations and the legislation. So then they came out with this grand thing with the VASP program, and a certain party was like, oh God, now veterans are not going to want to pay their bills and they're not going to want to do their mortgages, and they want this lower rate. It doesn't work that way. Okay, psychopaths say what? This is from privileged people who have the paychecks to be able to do and say whatever they want without actually doing investigation or coming and living with us for a week. The VASP program is only going to be eligible to a very small few number of these loans. And the reason I know this to be true is if you look at the actual program itself and you read the guidelines, it's not up to the VA. It's not up to anybody but the lenders to decide what happens with these mortgages. And if they don't think that you are eligible or you qualify for these programs, they don't have to offer it to you. And if they don't put your name forward to the VA to do the program, you don't get eligible for it, no matter how far behind you are.
Well, I mean, not only just that, but you have the issue of everything goes into an escrow account, right?
Yes.
The escrow account. Well, because of inflation, insurance companies are allowed to set their rates for what they charge for homeowners insurance.
Yes.
So if they decide in March that they're going to change their rates for homeowners insurance, but you're still paying the same mortgage payment, well, now you're not paying enough to cover what they need in the escrow account. So come the end of the year, your escrow account is short.
Yep, which is your shortage.
So come the next year, now you have to pay more to make up that difference.
Yes.
Well, guess what? Because of inflation, each county is like, oh, well, now we're going to vote on a mileage rate and property taxes because of inflation, because we need to have X amount, X, Y, Z, or whatever. So now your property taxes go up, which affects your escrow account. But you still, for that one calendar year, pay what that mortgage payment is. And then it's, oh, well, you're short on your property taxes, but we had to pay it out of your escrow. So now you owe us money because we did you the favor of covering it out of your escrow account when you didn't have it.
Yep.
So now your payment was XYZ, but now it's increased to $250, $300 a month on top of you still have the late fees from being behind, and you still are behind 2 months. So we're going to foreclose on the house.
Yep.
And it's but wait a minute, I paid what my minimum payment was. Well, yeah, but the property increased, the taxes increased on the property, and the housing insurance went up.
I have so many problems. I do not think the VA mortgages should ever be touched on the interest rates. I think they should be one set rate across the board, period. It is not the fault of any of these veteran families that COVID happened, and yet they are losing their lives, that's just fact, and losing their homes and having their families torn apart because we can't get our heads out of our asses. We're so busy playing the political party games and dealing with all of the distractions that we're not paying attention to what we should be paying, and these are the families that are suffering.
So I will tell you this: in the state of Georgia, they offer a homestead tax exemption to any veteran that is 100% disabled. And since I am 90 IU, which is paid at 100%, I get the homestead tax exemption.
You're lucky.
Which means, so for the first year I own the house, I have to pay the full property taxes. But after that, I get the homestead tax exemption. So I'm very fortunate with that. But let me give you an example of how bad that has changed. Because I feel like when people see the dollar amount, the bigger it is, the more they just kind of like, oh, wow, that's a lot of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me give you a perfect example. The first year of my homestead tax exemption, my property taxes for the year were $3. That was 2021. I paid $3 for property taxes that year. This is now 2024. I just got my property tax bill for what I'm going to pay for 2025. My taxes are $776. 4 years later, it went from $2 to $700. That is a massive, that is like a 900% increase in taxes. So if you don't have the VA homestead tax or the homestead tax exemption, and you're still in the same situation, how are you going to afford that? Because I did the calculations on my calculator. My payment, if I'm somehow able to get caught up by December 31st, come 2025, my payments are still going up almost $400 a month in order for me to keep my house.
I don't even want to think about
And I'm
ours.
at $1,600 a month now, which means for 2025, I'm going to have to pay almost $2,000 a month to keep my house because the property taxes have increased so much.
Our mortgage
And
payment is $2,975 a month, and our property taxes are about $6,000 a year. It's split up between 2 payments a year. They take it in the fall and in the springtime.
And has that jumped up over the last several years?
Oh my God, yeah. See, it seems like every time our value of our house goes up, everything else goes up. LA County is where I live. And it's no secret that it's one of the most expensive counties. They are literally trying to kill off the poor people. They just are. It's just a fact.
It's designed that way, and they don't even come out to look at the land. They take aerial pictures, look down on your property, compare it to the layout of the map for the jurisdiction. Say, okay, lot number blah blah blah. Yep, they got this house. It's listed as having X number of bedrooms, X number of square feet. The outside of the house looks like they got X, Y, and Z there. So we're going to raise their property taxes by X a dollar amount.
They keep
That's how it's
building
done.
multi-million-dollar properties around us, and so everything has gone up. And yet, if you look at the breakdown of the property taxes and what goes into our sewage, or city sewage, and our city streets and our waterways, we have not really had any decent updates. Like, we flooded out during the hurricane when it became a tropical storm, and we got hammered with rain. Torrential, horrible flooding rain. We were boating down our streets. That was not normal for our area. But we didn't have the drain pipes or the drainage ditches cleared out enough. They weren't ready for that kind of a thing. So where did that money go? This is not an issue of a California thing. I have been saying since 2014, y'all, that this is a failure of the American government to provide for these people, not just veterans, but the American people as a whole, the programs that need to be properly funded. I am so annoyed and tired, so very tired of people saying that the government is here to help you, and then shaming people for wanting help.
I believe it was the midterms of 2022 here in Georgia. There was a state election, and one of the things on the ballot was to do a temporary tax increase to reduce congestion on major roads in the county. 92% voted no and turned it down. That was in 2022. Since then, 473 apartment complexes have been built and 62 new subdivisions.
Wow.
and the congestion is way worse. We told the government no on new taxes for congestion, so they came in and brought more population to make the congestion worse. And guess what? Guess what was on the ballot again just recently,
Oh
or
Lord.
upcoming ballot? Increasing taxes to reduce congestion on the major
Of
roadways.
course, this is the problem with why I have such an issue with courts kicking back things to the state level. Look, I do not believe for a second that we need more government. We do not. Hi, Lexi. We need less government control over our lives and more freedom to run our lives. But at the same time, by doing what they're doing, if you have a state that is run by the same kind of crooked, corrupt, greedy people that are sitting in Congress and living the high life, with paychecks that far exceed what veterans are making, even on disability, which most of them are 100% and cannot work, we have a bigger problem, because now we're taking corrupt, crooked politicians on the federal level, corrupt, crooked politicians on the state level, and the American people are the biggest victims because we keep getting bent over, and they're going, nope, just ask for some more. You're okay. We're here to help you.
Well, before we get too far off topic, the biggest issue with that is we need to completely get rid of federal kickbacks. That's the
Yes.
biggest problem.
Yes. Yes, I absolutely agree.
These local state
Hey,
governments
Callie.
should not be able to push things through because they get federal funding if it goes through.
Yes.
That's
It's all
complete crap.
connected together. I have been in fights recently even with that when I say that, but it is, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. Everything is connected together when it comes to the governments on the state, the local, and the federal levels, because they take federal money. If they're not working in the best interest of the American people as a whole, then they're not working for the American people. They cannot say that.
Well, and that's like I was telling you earlier before we got on here. I've been trying for about a month to get a mental health appointment with the VA. I've even tried to be like, hey, can you give me community care? Can I schedule an appointment with a provider in the community if you can't get me in because of the wait times or, whatever? And finally, so it's been about a month. I had an appointment last Friday and they canceled it because the provider was busy. And they rescheduled it for this upcoming Friday for a telehealth appointment. And that's for a mental health appointment. And I get 45 minutes.
Okay, so what you're saying is we cannot bring you so much stress that you have a breakdown before your appointment. Got it. I got it.
What I'm saying is that they have all these programs that are supposed to be for helping, but you can't access them.
I know.
But yet that money is being funneled into these programs to help people, but they're inaccessible. And personally, I've done a lot of research here in the state of Georgia and at the federal level about some of the spending with the VA and where it goes to help veterans and the housing resources. And for example, if my wife and I decided to divorce, she could get Section 8 housing and live in government housing and then rent to me for $1 a month. And
Yep.
I can rent a room in that house.
Yep.
And that's perfectly fine.
Yep.
Because we're married, we can't get any assistance.
Yep. I will tell you a story after this.
I fought in Afghanistan and Iraq to protect this country. But I can't keep my house.
No. We're going to change that. It's just going to take some time. But that is why, you guys, it is so important, if you're a veteran family and you have been following us, but you've been very quiet, that you need to do what he did and tell your story. Because people are obviously really tired of me telling my family story over and over and over. We're not doing it for all of the perks and to be famous or the pity. It is to try and stop this from continuously happening. And I have said this since 2014. That is what is so frustrating, because I told everybody back then, I had so many lawyers telling me that I was a stupid girl because I was trying to go against an industry, which is he was referring to the mortgage industry, who are powerhouse billionaires, and that they're never going to let it get very far. And I said I refuse to believe that human lives, veteran families, human lives, mean so little to this country that they honestly don't care. And for 6 years, I was proven wrong. They don't care. Because if you guys cared, you wouldn't just scroll through. You would stop, stay, listen, sign the petition, and help me get that out. Because this is the problem that we're going to have. And we're not talking about an isolated case. In May, that was when the veteran VA foreclosure forbearance time frame ended, May, the very last day of May. The day before it was set to expire, they extended it out to December 31st. It's a good thing, right? Sure, of course it is. Except here's the problem, which is why the COVID forbearances are killing these families off. A forbearance without a long-term plan to actually help these families is terrorism. Because what happens is you give them that time like it's some kind of gift, praying that somehow they win the lottery to make up those payments that they were lied about in the first place. So they were already being preyed on by these lenders and our government, just to be let loose at the end of that forbearance. And by God, if they don't have the money to pay it off in full and they're not current, they will lose their house and they will be stripped of a percentage of their home buying benefits as a result of that. Meanwhile, for those of you who think that they don't make money off of this, they certainly do, because it's a guaranteed loan. So they already get their money anyway, a good part of it. And then the VA can actually come after you for what they're actually going to try and come after you for anyway, which is the difference from what they sell it for to what you owed. It's happened.
Well,
it's on record.
Amy, keep this in mind too. Like, I don't want to speak on anybody else's situation, so I'll just speak on my own. Because of the COVID forbearance and where we are, like I was saying, I haven't missed a car payment in probably 18 months, but it still shows every month that I'm 30 days behind. So it's negatively affecting my credit. So my credit is crap. We're looking at a situation where this might be our last Christmas in this house. And come New Year's, they foreclose on the house. Well, my credit is so bad that I couldn't go get a FHA loan to buy a new house. And because I would be so far behind on my car, and I would be so far behind on my mortgage payments and everything, I would have no other option but to rent. The rent in my neighborhood, so the neighborhood I live in right now, the houses in this neighborhood are renting for almost roughly anywhere between $2,600 to $3,000 a month.
Yep, that's what it's here.
My VA check is $4,200 a month. And you need a first, last, and security deposit. You need almost $12,000 to be able to get a house this size in order for me to have a room for each of my children.
Yep.
I don't make that kind of money. I can't afford to rent. And my credit is so bad because of being so far behind on my car and my mortgage that I couldn't get a loan to buy, especially if I have a foreclosure on there. And where are we supposed to go? What are we supposed to do?
But the VA will come in and give you a voucher and put you in a hotel for a little while.
Hey,
Well-
Amy,
Yes.
Well,
while we're talking about that voucher for shelter, why don't you enlighten people about the facts about a shelter for families?
You mean the fact that most families are going to be separated because there are not too many shelters that actually will take a family and keep them together?
that's what I
Bingo.
was just about to say. My wife and daughters can go somewhere, but I can't go with them.
So that is one of the biggest problems with this. And the idea that there are Americans that are defending this and saying, you know what, you have family you can go live with. What about those who come off active duty and don't have the family to go live with? What about those who were, for whatever reason, maybe like Dave and I were, we were older, so we were isolated. We didn't make friends. We did what we could to get along with everyone, and we were a big part of the Carrier family, and we supported everyone. But we didn't have quote-unquote close friends, so there was nobody we could go live with. Much less, what are we supposed to do if we lose the car? We can't even live in the car, which would have given us a heat, which it's getting colder in some places as we speak. So winter's coming. What about them then? Why is the answer always more bullshit excuses, and yet we don't want to work on the problems? And we talk about mental health. So here's the thing, guys. I can't let my platform be about anything but foreclosures and tying things into foreclosures, which thankfully this is all tied in together. Because we are already well aware the facts, the stats, the research is there showing that foreclosures contribute to or worsen PTSD. We're going to fight for that, for a disability rating, even if it's 0%, but on record, that's fine. Because it does. It's detrimental to the human mental wellness. That's what we're talking about. So if mental health, and if this causes addictions or alcoholism, because you have to look at your family and realize that you can't take care of them, that you have tried everything you could to find help, that everybody keeps telling you no or making excuses, you're overqualified, you're a risk because of your PTSD, thank you for your service, but this is what contributes to all of that. So don't you dare sit on your platforms and talk about how you've got their sixes and how important mental health is and that you've got their backs and you'll always be there for them when you're not stepping up and supporting the only movement in this country that is trying to stop veteran foreclosures and keep these families together and in their homes.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, Amy, because I will never be one to knock any veterans organization out there. I think there's a lot of great ones, and they all do a lot of wonderful things. When I first got out, I was part of the Army Wounded Warrior Project, and it helped me in times where I thought I was going to be one of those statistics where I just thought it was better off if I just wasn't here anymore. And there are a lot of veterans organizations that are great, and they do a lot of great things for veterans and their families in certain aspects. But your organization that you started, and this one right here, the KOVH, might be one of the most meaningful ones. Because you do have a lot out there that are about camaraderie and mental health and helping with claims and all that. That's great, and that's all stuff that veterans need. But if you're a service member or a family member who's already suffering with depression, anxiety, PTSD, and now you have to deal with not being able, no matter how hard you try, to keep a roof over your family's head and feeling like a failure no matter what you do, that's really hard that's a really hard pill to swallow when you consistently see that a lot of priorities for the government is for non-Americans.
Yes.
And it's hard when, like, a perfect example, my situation. I jumped out of airplanes with the 82nd Airborne Division for a long time. My back and knees are shot. I cannot pick up more than 50 pounds without being in pain. So when it gets to the point where I have grandkids, it's gonna suck once they get to a certain age.
Oh, Lord.
I cannot, I have physical limitations. And so I cannot go out and do gainful employment to better my situation. That's not going to put me in a worse situation. But I have to sit here and watch and stress about doing everything I can. I mean, I've been selling things out of my garage on bidded sites, on Marketplace. I've sold things that I had bought that were rather expensive that I couldn't sell anywhere else, that I put on a bidded site that someone bid $3 on and had to let it go just because I'm trying to get rid of things to come up with extra money, try to keep a roof over my kid's head, and to look at my wife and daughters and be like, as your dad and as your husband, I failed you. I couldn't keep a roof over your head. I couldn't keep the lights on. I couldn't keep a safe place for you to come to. And there was nothing I can do about it.
That is my biggest concern with the kids, because I don't. They shouldn't. Yeah, they shouldn't be subjected to that when you do everything right. Like, that was the first 18 months we sold off everything we could find. I stayed up all night painting and making things, which everybody kept calling crafts, and I was like, nope, this is my livelihood. I have to do this because if I'm not staying busy mentally, if my hands are not busy, I'm not doing everything I can as a mother. My son was older than most of the kids that these families have. In fact, I think almost all of them that I'm been in contact with have 3 to 5 kids, and they're all under the ages of 20. So they're kids. They don't understand why this is happening. Holidays roll around, they can't even afford Christmas. We were so lucky to cross paths with Justin and Amanda, who are an Air Force family in Colorado, that this last summer just amazingly crossed our paths, and at the right time too, because he came in and he was like, my son's first birthday is this weekend and I don't even think we can afford a cake. I'm a mom before I am anything else, and I didn't even ask the board for permission. I just decided and told Pappy, we got to do this, because if I can't get them at least a cake for this baby's first birthday, I can't live with myself. I can't do it. And so I grabbed everything I could and we started fundraising. And then I decided, nope, this is not enough, because these parents have been through a hell. Both of them lost their jobs at the same time. They worked for the same company. So I fundraised again and we got them the money for dinner. And then I told Pappy, nope, we got to do utilities now, because I don't want them to do, I don't want them to lose that and be stuck in this house fighting for their house while they're trying to maneuver the lender. By the grace of God, their lender actually worked with them and he now has a job. But just that little thing made me feel 1,000 times better, because even though I couldn't save their house and give them a job, it was just little somethings like that that gave him the ability to hold on. And he said, today even, we're so grateful for you guys because you were the reason that we held on. It was something. Somebody actually stepped up and showed that they cared.
Yep.
Well,
Yes, I love the Wounded Warrior Project too.
Here's where I think a big disconnect comes in is, in the military, there's this mindset of you can't ask for help, right? You have to just be tough.
Yes.
And so you get out now and you're a civilian, but you've been taught you have to be tough. It doesn't matter what life throws at you. So like even now with the mindset of like, okay, if I have to lift my car, I can do it. But what about my kids? It's not fair for my kids. My kids shouldn't have to do that because I failed. Is it really me failing when I'm literally spending every dime that I possibly get trying to keep a roof over their head? And you have a lot of veterans who I've talked to, because like I said, I've done stuff where I've helped veterans with their VA claims. A lot of veterans are like, well, I don't want to file for a VA claim because I'm not as messed up as other veterans, or I didn't do what other veterans did, so I shouldn't file for that. Or because there's this stigma in the military of you can't ask for help. You don't need mental health. You're weak if you do. And so they get out and they become civilians with that mentality. And we have to break that. We have to tell veterans and their family members it's okay to need help. It's okay to reach out. And it's okay to apply for VA compensation and VA disability if you're hurt, because you earned it.
Exactly.
It's okay to use the benefits that are available to you because you earned it. But at the same time, just like anything else, there's risk versus reward, right? Like we spoke earlier before we got on here. All it takes is the stroke of a pen for VA compensation to disappear.
Yep.
All it takes is for a group of politicians to be like, hey, we have so much, we're $33 trillion in debt, we cannot afford to pay VA disability compensation anymore, so we're getting rid of it. And they stroke their pen and it's gone. And all of us are screwed.
That's how these veterans that we have that have been part of my channel, they're worried about the budget, because they were like, look, everyone's joking about that they should shut down, that we shouldn't pass the budget, that there's this and this included in it. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, Amy, VA disability pay is in that budget. Civil service pay is in that budget. That's the paycheck that you're talking about when you talk about mortgage payments. If they don't get those paychecks, they can't pay their bills. I didn't even think about it like that. I honestly didn't. I mean, I know it's there. I know that that's true. But I didn't, for a brief bit of time, completely forgot that if they don't have those incomes, then their lenders are going to use that as an excuse to not be able to offer them help, or to do a loan mod and put them in a higher interest rate that they know that they can't afford, and then say, you do not have a house you can afford, we're sorry, there's nothing else that we can do for you.
So here's something a lot of people don't realize. And it was probably, I don't remember what year, but it was probably around sometime between 2010 2013. We were facing a massive government shutdown, and everyone was worried about how they're going to be, get their pay and everything. And the government passed a law that was the military will still get paid, veterans will still get paid, Medicare will still get paid, Social Security will still get paid, even if the government shuts down. And that was when they kind of first started coming with the National Defense Authorization Act, because it was tied in with the defense budget. So it was like, even if the government shuts down, the Defense Department will still be paid, including these benefits: Social Security, Medicare, VA pay. Since then, it has kind of grown to where the operating budget for the government has all been included in the NDAA. However, as we find out every year, they're always facing a shutdown unless they pass a continuing resolution to keep the government funded through the end of the year. So even if the government shuts down, the money has been allocated to go ahead and pay those benefits through the NDAA. The problem is the NDAA, as you and I talked earlier, since we actually read it, the spending is more than our GDP in that NDAA.
Yes. A lot of people don't read it, so they don't know.
So the NDAA is like, okay, well, we passed this to fund the government for the year, but the spending is more than what our GDP is. So come July, August, September, we don't have any more money because, well, we allocated it all to crap.
Yeah.
So they have to pass the continuing resolution. And so, but everybody's scared of this government shutdown because it's always Social Security, VA pay, disability, who's not going to get paid. It's never civil service, i.e. politicians, who aren't going to get paid.
Exactly.
Ever. So
No.
everyone's all worried about it, and everyone's like, oh, we have to make sure it passes. We have to make sure it passes. It doesn't matter what's in it. We have to make sure it gets passed because we're living paycheck to paycheck. And if we miss one paycheck, most of us are screwed.
Yeah.
And so I encourage whoever's on here, whoever's listening, I encourage all of you. It's too late for the fiscal year. However, please read the NDAA 2024. Please read it. I know it's a lot. It's like almost 1,300 pages.
Yes,
it's a lot.
Yes, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's not a thing you can read in one day. You need to kind of split it up.
Amy and I were looking at the proposed budget for the VA last night. 54 some pages long it is. I was just scrolling through it faster than she was, and I kept seeing things that just didn't make sense. I was like, why does this end with this? And what is this? And I was like, they
stick so much stuff inside things that they should not. It's wrong.
Yeah.
But if you look at almost every federal agency, which continues no matter every year, it seems like the federal bureaucrat just keeps growing and growing and growing, and agencies just keep. But if you look at it, the VA was like, oh, we're $3 billion short of being able to fund everything. FEMA, oh, we're however many $1 billion short of being able to fund this. The Department of Education, we're so many hundreds of millions of dollars short of being able to fund it. Why is it every federal agency is short?
You're not supposed to ask that question.
Why is every single federal agency short of money?
You're not supposed to ask that question.
We passed the NDAA and continuing resolutions to fund everything, to make sure everything gets paid for, but yet you constantly have a shortfall, and it's always the American people who are hurting or going to lose out or going to be suffering.
Yep. It's by design. I have already argued at least 3 times this week with people who don't like me saying that, but it is. They know what they're doing. If we are so desperate and so struggling, we are so much easier to manipulate and control. And we're not going to fight back because we're just tired. And when you get that tired, you just give up. But then they're going to ask for more money because, oh my God, we got to combat the pharmaceutical cost increases because they need more meds. Oh my God, we've got to deal with the homeless crisis because we can't keep people in their homes even though it's cheaper, people. It is cheaper to keep them in their homes than it is to let them lose it.
I've been trying for a month to get a mental health appointment. I have been, probably for the last year, I've reached out to my local district congressman via email, via text, via phone. Probably in the last year, 15 times, and always left a message, never once got a response. But you would not believe how many emails and text messages I get from both political parties asking for a $5 donation,
Of
a $10
Yep.
a $20 donation.
Yep.
I'm like,
I
well,
have
wait a minute.
seen them flow in faster than you would think in the last few months.
So,
And it's like, wait a minute, you want me to give you money, but you don't have the common decency to answer an email, a text message, a phone call? You don't have the decency to sit down
of
and have a
course not.
conversation
Oh, you're
with
lucky if you get an administrative executive assistant, a secretary, because I've been passed off half a dozen times to them, and they tell me, okay, we've got your information, we'll be in touch, and then nothing happens. No, because it's not, they don't have to worry about it. If it's not going to put them ahead in the polls, they don't have to care.
Well, and here's the thing too, which is what I try to tell a lot of people who complain to me about things being messed up or whatever. Like, individually, we're not going to change the federal machine.
No.
Nope.
However, we can collectively as a group change in our municipal cities and towns first.
Yep.
And what a lot of people don't realize, and I implore people, I'm like, please read your state constitution. Please read your state constitution. Please read the statutes and the codes of your state. Because what a lot of people don't understand and realize is, yes, the Constitution does say it is the supreme law of the land. What a lot of people don't realize is that, for a broad example, if you have a politician in Congress that gets up there and votes no on VA benefits, we'll just say from my state of Georgia, votes no on VA benefits for whatever reason. Everybody's like, oh, they voted no, it didn't pass. Oh, that sucks. It's bullshit, and everybody complains. But if you read your state constitution and you demand and you use your local county sheriff to make sure your city council follows the codes and written in your state constitution, you can demand the governor recall that national, federal level politician and remove him from office.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But a lot of people won't read it. A lot of people just, oh, that's bull crap, and go about their day.
Yep.
Okay, here's one thing that people should own. If you don't like to read, I don't care, but you should have a physical copy of your state constitution and the U.S. Constitution. Because as long as you have a physical copy of both, they can bloviate all they want and they can go in and do what they want online to make changes to it. But if you have the physical copy, they cannot make changes to a physical copy that has not been changed by the people.
Exactly. Yep.
I need to pause you guys for 1 second so we can get some of the business stuff out of the way because there's been a ton of new people coming in that haven't heard hardly anything until just now. So we are not gaming tonight. We are talking instead with a brand spanking new blessing that we got handed yesterday, which we're never letting him go now. He and his family are stuck with us. This is Army veteran Robert and his amazing family who are going through exactly what we've been talking about since 2014. KOVH wants to give a quick shout out and thank you to All in a Day's Work, who has donated coffee every month until who knows when. Every other month we will be waffling off a 1 pound bag of ground ground custom blend coffee that they offer. And the other months in between that are going to be the K-Cups, which this month I think is the K-Cups. Pappy has to stay on top of that. So that is what Pappy kind of rambles on about every night when we're live, which now we're going to change things up and spread out lives because we've got so much new stuff happening. But we're speaking with Robert Green because he is a blessing and a half that crossed our paths yesterday while I was live and absolutely blew me out of the water because he asked a question in chat that nobody's asked me since I started. And I was like, wait, what? And then the more you get to know him, the more you'll see why. Because these families have real faces, they have real names, they have real children that are suffering because we're continuously ignoring this cycle of perpetual abuse, which that's what it is. Let's just get real. Because as long as corrupt local, state, and federal politicians are allowed to keep making bank off of the American taxpayers and not representing them and putting programs and resources available for them to be able to help themselves, this is going to keep being a problem. I do not have anything bad against any nonprofits in this country except for the sleazy ones that don't put their money where their mouth is, the ones that are not putting the money into the communities, the ones that are funding their houses and their girlfriends and their jewelry fetishes and the horrible things that goes on. They're getting charged. We see that all the time. We are a nonprofit organization, and this week, starting today and through next week, we're going to be fundraising as much as we can to raise the $275 to get our 501c3 status. Our EIN number is located at the bottom of our website at keepourvetshoused.org. We are trying to branch out, and luckily enough, Mr. Robert is in Georgia, so he is going to actually start heading up the Georgia chapter of KOVH, and we've got a lot, and I do mean a lot of work to do, but that is just one state down with so many others. Of course, Pappy's going to have to do his state because that's just a dumb moment for me. But we've got to keep doing this because once we check off each and every state, it is going to be impossible for them to continue to ignore us. So what can you do? Well, if you're in a state that's not represented yet, which there's only California, Georgia, and now, of course, Pappy state, we need you to step up. It's not that difficult. It is going to take a little bit of time every single day, but I already pretty much have done the work for everybody. You just need to get everything from me. The press release, you need to find your local state and federal representatives, where their offices are, their emails, collect those so that you can go to our website and download all of those things. The petition, the packets, the press releases, the update pages. Those are all things that you need to grab for yourself, put it on your laptop, your tablets, whatever you're going to do. Hi, Tony. And you need to send them to them every single week, not a day, every single week, because eventually you're going to get through and they're going to have to read them. You need to make them see that this is a movement that is the first of its kind. Historically, it's going to make big waves, but it's going to take us some time. We can fast pace some things, like getting it before legislation-wise and regulation-wise before Congress, if we get the petition going. It's free. There is no reason why, if you support veterans and their families, if you are a veteran, if you live in this country and you love this country, why you are not signing that petition and getting it to every friend, enemy, side piece, exes, I don't care what. Your name should be on that petition. It is the only one that matters right now for us. The other one is the veteran wife one for mental health, and that is important too, but this one is the most important, because if we do not get this legislation and regulation crisis fixed, if we do not address the underlying issues that are causing this homeless crisis, we're going to keep funneling them out onto the street, and it costs this country, taxpayers, you and your hard-earned dollars, more money to let them foreclose on these houses than it does to keep them in their house and help them the little bit that they need help with. That is a huge thing. Huge. Sign the petition. Share, like, follow, subscribe if you can, and show up every time we have a live that you can possibly show up to. Because every time you help participate in discussions, every gift, every donation, everything that you do, even just sitting here and listening, it actually counts for something. We're going to be doing a pop-up sale this weekend at some time. I have items that we're going to try and move and sell, whether it's going to be an auction style or just the sale, which it probably will be a sale turned into an auction if people actually like what they see. All to raise money so that we can get that done. This needs to be finalized by the end of the month. That we need to have our application online submitted to the IRS so that we can have the paperwork to show the state of California that we have in fact applied. I have have zero doubts that we're going to get our 501c3 status, so we're just going to start behaving like we are. That means the rules have to be followed, etiquette has to be followed, TOS has to be followed. If you have not already joined our Discord server, go to my profile, click my little ugly mug up there, find the Linktree link, go to the petition, sign it, and then find our Discord server. So, hi, Callie.
I have made it simple. The link is currently in chat
Okay,
on
Pappy's
all
on the ball.
websites.
Go join our Discord. So we've got some more growing to do because now we're going to start branching out into other states. Don't take it on if you don't think you're going to be able to have at least an hour a day where you can put into it, because it's emailing and texting and calls. We are not going to be able to do this without every state having someone represent us in it. I have been doing this by myself until I met Pappy and all of these amazing people that have made up the support group. We have a committee that is formed that if you are a creative person and you want to help in some other way, then you can go over there and talk to Pappy, and he can see what he can get you into doing and helping us figure some things out, organizing some waffles, organizing some different fundraisers. We don't sit here and play games all day and talk to you guys for the fun of it. It's to raise awareness, resources, and help, to give support to these families, to be a platform where they're safe talking to, uniting together and helping to join forces, and building the community like what we had when we were active duty. Vet Nations Cards is another amazing soul here on TikTok and on Twitch. If you're not already following him, please go give him a follow. And thank you to our growing list of supporters and our supporters and our partners like Bauer Family Farms. He's actually the vice president of KOVH. We have Masterpiece Gaming. We have Burn Heritage Creations. We have all of the new ones like Barney and his group, the Game Cave with Moore and his group, which I wouldn't even be here if it were not for them, because my computer died literally 2 days after they gifted me this one that has been like the only way that I can get a hold of you guys. So we want to be a platform for these veteran families. If you are a veteran family and you still are not willing or ready to talk to us, please keep sending me the text messages and the emails. You guys need to tell your story. That is the only way that this is going to change things, just like Robert did. And it's not easy. We will do our best to make sure that when you are alive that we protect you and your families as best as we can. But that's what we're doing. We're not really doing gaming right now. We are talking with Robert, and we're actually discussing all the issues that are directly related to the crisis that we're talking about all the time. But I do want to make sure that we give thanks to all of them as we continue to grow, because you guys literally are part of the KOVH Mafia, the KOVH crew, the K crew. And you guys help to make sure that we stay around. Speaking of Vet Nations Cards, he just joined. So if you're not following him, he is a veteran as well. He's Navy. He is an amazing soul with so much energy as well. But yeah,
Hey, Robert.
That's our friend Robert now that's part of us.
I got a quick question for you, kind of off the major topic. You went into the Army. You could have gone with any of the 5 branches. Why Army?
Okay, so I wore a size 18, and when I walked into my recruiting station, it was one of those like all-in-one recruiting station that had the Navy, Air Force, Marines all in one building, right? When I walked in there, Marine, Navy, and Army recruiter in there. The Air Force recruiter, I guess, was off because the Air Force only works like 2 days a year, I guess.
Oh, shit.
Shut up, Superman.
Just kidding, guys. Just kidding. Just kidding.
And we're going to have a fight.
And I went to the Marine recruiter first because I had always through TV, so the Marines were, best. And I was talking to the Marine recruiter, and he saw the size of my boot, and he was like, "You need to join the Navy because if the ship sinks, everybody could just get in your boot." Everybody thought it was hilarious. The Navy recruiter laughed about it. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Thank you,
so
Callie.
I talked to the Navy recruiter for a little bit, and he was like, "Well, you're kind of stuck to 1 or 2 jobs, this or that, whatever." And then it's kind of funny because it's almost kind of like a scene in a movie. The Army recruiter was just sitting in this really dim lit office kind of off to the back, and he's like, "Hey, I can offer you any job you want." It's like, well, that's kind of cool. So I went in and talked to him, and I was like, well, I'm 6'5" and I weigh 82 pounds. I want
Wow.
to get some muscle. I want to be physically fit. He's like, oh, we can do that. Okay. I want to learn about weapons. He goes, you ever heard about airborne infantry? I said, no. He goes, well, you want to? I said, sure. He goes, you'll be one of the most physically fit people we have. I said, well, that sounds good. What do I got to do? Sign here. I had no idea it meant jumping out of airplanes. I'm scared of heights.
So you
So,
didn't watch John Wayne's Longest Day?
I should have before I enlisted. But it was so that's how I ended up actually going into the army. And I had thought about reclassing for a while after I did the whole airborne infantry thing for a while. I wanted to change my MOS to topographical specialist to be a land surveyor because at the time they were making a crap ton of money in the civilian world. And I was like, well, I'll just reclass, right? Because I want to get out and make a lot of money. And so I re-enlisted to do that. And about a month later, the Army's like, oh, we designated that to civilians. So we're just going to keep you at your current MOS. I was like, well, what if I go to a different branch? And it was like, well, you'd have to lose rank. And I was like, oh, never mind. So I just stayed Army and just stayed airborne infantry. And to be completely honest, when you're airborne infantry of the Army, they give you a big head and they make you think that you're special. And so I thought I was special. And why would I want to change when, I'm special? And then you get out and realize that you're not actually special and that you actually have no transferable skills. And the fact that you can carry 60 pounds on your back and run 12 miles doesn't do anything for you in the civilian world. And your back and knees hurt for no reason. And even though you were great with all kinds of weapons, you can be a security guard for minimum wage. But if you would have went to a different branch or reclassed and actually learned how to do something, you'd probably be making a lot more money than minimum wage. But they don't tell you that when you're there. And so I decided to be special ed and stay airborne infantry the whole time. Didn't learn any better till I got out, but yeah, so that's how I ended up going into the Army. Everybody else was making fun of my boot sizes, and the Army was like, hey, come here, I can give you what you want. And if I was older, realized you probably shouldn't go in the dark alley and talk to the guy behind the trunk who's offering you a good deal. Probably not a good idea. But, you live and you learn, right? But, Chappie, you had mentioned something just a little bit ago about telling everybody to read their state constitution.
Mhm.
This movement, I believe, has the foundation to be amazing for veterans. But the only way that's going to happen is if the people who are going to push this movement and who want to get involved are properly educated.
Mhm.
What I mean by that is you're going to have to do some research. Emotions are great. Wanting to support your veteran community is great. Love the enthusiasm. But you're going to have to know how to fight to push this agenda and to push this momentum forward to actually make change for our veteran families. There's a book by Dr. John Coleman called What You Should Know About the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I think it's like $20 on Amazon. It basically kind of breaks down the Constitution and the Bill of Rights as far as like kind of the intent behind it at the time. Almost kind of like the Constitution for Dummies almost. The reason I say you should read that book is because it's a starting point of understanding the intent of what the Constitution is versus the government's role in protecting that Constitution. And so when you do go to read your state constitution and your state codes, it would give you a better understanding of why or how those were written in to what the actual Constitution says and means. So when you do go and you share this information, or you do go to meet with one of your elected representatives, city council, congressman, elected sheriff, anybody at any level of government, you go in there with the knowledge of what you're talking about. Because sadly, we live in a world where you can get the meeting. If you go into this meeting unprepared without the knowledge of laws that govern or the way they are written in these certain aspects, they might listen to you and tell you this or that, but nothing's really going to come of it. But if you go in that prepared with the knowledge of knowing what your state constitution is, understanding the Bill of Rights and the U.S. Constitution, you can go into these meetings and be able to present a valid argument of why your local city council, mayor, congressional representative, whatever the situation is, should get behind this and needs to get behind this, because here's precedent from it, from not only the federal constitution but state constitution, to do this, and here's the ways that it is hurting the veteran community and the American people. But you have to be informed, and the only way to do that is to understanding your state's laws. So please read your state constitution, even if you just read the part specific to what we're talking about right now. You don't have to read the whole thing if you don't want to. I know a lot of people aren't into reading. I personally am, so I've read the state constitution multiple times, and I keep going back every time there's a new election, a couple years, and go, so okay, what'd they change? But you have to understand what the USC is and what each section and what each title means and how it affects certain laws or codes of how they govern, to see how best help veterans and their families to make sure stuff like this doesn't happen. Because it's all great for a politician or anybody to get there and be like, oh, like the COVID forbearance, we're going to extend it for this. Well, that sounds great in theory. It looks great on paper. It sounds great when you present it. But it's the backside of it that nobody sees, that nobody talked about, that no one was told, that hundreds of thousands of veterans are dealing with now, that everybody's being quiet about. And so you have to educate yourself on the legalities of what's going on in your state and figure out an approach to best push this forward to get the support you need to go forward. And the more support you have from your friends, your neighbors, the more signatures you have from people, the more support you have from local businesses, going in there prepared is just going to help yourself, help your case, and help
I'll be
veterans
right back.
across this country.
Okay.
And if you can get it started, for example, the what's that thing called? What's that thing called? The states are doing the
State conventions or
a convention. Yes, thank you.
convention of states or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, the convention of states. This started out with an idea of we need to come together to do this, and it's grown to a point of there's a small group in each state that is getting bigger and bigger and more traction to actually make a change. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take baby steps. And if you can get it started in one area, you can spread that. But you have to do it based off of fact, not emotion. And that's why I tell everybody, please read your state constitution. At the very least. We love the support. We love the sharing, the liking, sharing the lives, giving this information out to people, and all that's great and wonderful, and we appreciate it. But if you really want to take action and you really want to help veterans and their families or your own family in this situation, know what you're up against. And the best way to do that is to educate yourself. So read your state constitution and build a defense or at least an argument to go present this to your city council, your governor, your mayor, your elected congressional representative. And if everyone does that, and you keep pushing the signatures and you keep doing this and you send those emails, and it gets to a point to where they're hearing it from multiple places, they're going to start to listen. Because realistically, what's been proven over the last several decades is the louder you are, the more it tends to drive policy. And so if you can be loud and have legal precedent on your side to either help your cause or show why it is hurting your cause, you can effectively make change. So yes, please keep sharing. Please keep getting involved with KOVH. But please get informed. That is the biggest thing. Get informed. And if you are a veteran or veteran's family, or even if you didn't serve in the military and you're in a situation right now, please get informed on your state laws when it comes to lending and foreclosures. Because this is truly a travesty that is happening to American people, and it shouldn't. This really shouldn't be happening to anybody with as much money as we have for discretionary spending. This should not be the situation we're facing. And like Chappie and Amy were talking about earlier, when they're looking at the VA budget and what's all included in that. As I mentioned earlier, I read the NDAA for 2024 and the budget and what we're spending money on that. The only way that changes is when we, the people, come together loud enough and stay consistent and put the work in to tell those who are elected, enough is enough. That's not okay. We're not okay with that. This is what needs to happen. This needs to be, these protections need to be added. These predatory practices need to be eliminated or outlawed. That's the only way this is going to happen. There's no reason veterans and their families are facing foreclosure because they were offered help. At the end of the day, that's what it is. Offered assistance, and now they're about to lose everything. And that's not okay.
Yep. Excuse me. Yeah, we shouldn't be leaving our vets behind. And what's sad is we don't remember our history, because it was a little over 100 years ago that our vets marched on Washington, when Washington failed to uphold a promise to our vets coming home from World War I. They are so focused on keeping us divided so that we can't come together and do the right things for people here. You don't have to be. Politics doesn't have a place in taking care of one another. You don't need the government's permission to do the right thing for one another. You just need to stand up and say, hey, today I'm going to do something good for somebody that I come across. Starts here in your own community. It starts in your own backyard. It cannot be said enough. It's been said every time we turn around when there's something major that goes on. The government is not going to have the answers, and the government cannot help you. They can just assist you. There's not enough of them to go around. But there's enough of us to be able to stand up in our own communities and say, hey, what can I do to make someone's life better? Helping our
In the
vets.
words of
Go ahead.
In the words of Ronald Reagan, the 9 scariest words in the English language are "I'm from the government and I'm here to help."
Yep.
And I've been telling people for the longest time that while we're fighting over red versus blue, Washington is purple. And Washington will remain purple until we, the people, demand a change.
And if you think your corporations are going to make a difference, nope. They give money to both sides. Amy and I one day were talking, and we pulled up a corporation to see who they gave money to, just to prove a point. Sure enough, they gave money to both parties. Granted, one party got more than the other because of where they're located. But how can you expect a difference to be made when the corporations are buying your politicians on both sides? It's the people that have to make the difference.
And that's the thing where I've been trying to tell people on TikTok. I get on people's lives when I see them actively supporting one side or the other. I try to get on there and I have conversations with them, and I always ask. My first question is always, what was the initial intent of the founding fathers with the Constitution? They did not want career politicians.
Exactly.
The American people were supposed to be tradesmen, commoners who had local jobs, who served for a time period in the federal government and then went back to their local jobs.
And they weren't supposed to get
career.
They were not supposed to get paid for what they're doing in Washington.
You dang sure weren't supposed to get rich.
Nope. Their careers.
I always ask. No, go ahead, Chappie.
No, I was going to say their careers back home was what's supposed to pay them, not Washington, D.C.
Exactly. And that's the thing. So I always ask them, I say, okay, you're supporting this side or this side. So can you give me a actual reason that you didn't hear on mainstream news? You're not regurgitating something you saw on mainstream news. Can you give me an actual reason why this person or this party has the American people's best interest at heart? And you can never, and so far, I've never gotten an actual answer other than something that has been repeated. And so I like to bring up the fact, okay, what about in the 2020 election or the 2016 election or 2012? It's always the same continuation. And so I keep trying to tell people, like, for example, since I've been alive, George H.W. Bush gave a State of the Union talking about the need for border security on our southern border. That was in the 80s. We're in 2024. Every president since him has given a press conference or State of the Union talking about the need for border security. We spend trillions of dollars, yet it's been 40 years and we don't have border security on the southern border yet. But yet you've had both major political parties in charge for X amount of years. Yet it still hasn't happened.
We were talking, Amy and I were talking about this the other night, and I think we even talked about it in a live somewhere, that it is theater. It's a kabuki theater. You give them a subject, they will figure out how to use it for themselves, to twist it to say the other side's doing this or the other side's doing that. So, and then when you start talking to people in the areas where things are happening, you start hearing different things that you're not hearing. if we treated the news like we treated our research papers that we had to do in high school, we would be going to 3 or 4 different sources for the information to get to the truth of stuff, but we don't. And I heard someone today, one of the news commentators that I heard today said something that is very true. We no longer have local media outlets. We have national media outlets. Every local news station is owned by a national news group.
Well, not only are owned by a national news group, but you can actually look up and it will tell you all the major mainstream media. It will tell you if they align left, right, or central.
Mm-hmm.
Why is there an alignment at all?
Media should always be neutral, but
It should be.
since World War II, the press has been bought up by, well, actually even before then, because prior to World War I, we had, I know back where I'm from, the big paper that's in the community I'm from was started by a Democrat. So you had papers that were Democratic paper, papers that were Republican paper. Well, now you don't even know who the party of the paper is, because they're all sucked up into larger corporations now.
So let me ask you all this. Has anybody read the book 1984?
Yes.
It's been a long time.
Okay, so you both have read it.
Yes.
I bring that up for the simple fact of everyone remembers being told about a historical event in 1912 that was just devastating, right? The Titanic's maiden voyage.
Yes. No, I was figuring that's where he was going.
But did you know to this day you can find newspaper clippings showing that there was no deaths, everyone survived?
Yep. In the early hours of the aftermath, they were doing that. But after the rescue ships came in, boy, did it change.
Right. And so the reason I bring that up is because I try to tell everybody, regardless of what you think, whether you want to call it a conspiracy, whether you want to call it misinformation, regardless of what you want to call it, the bottom line is, and I just go back that far, I'm sure you can look back farther and see things, but from at least that point, going forward, you can find multiple coincidences to where you find conflicting reports. And it's always so extreme. This is what happened. Nope, didn't happen. You see, we were taught in school about the Holocaust, but yet there's reports saying that didn't happen. You have, so all of so going on. So I bring that up to tell people of the fact of when it comes down to it, regardless of whether it's a housing voucher, whether it's food stamp assistance, whether it's WIC, whether it's a grant for school, whether it's a scholarship to help you out because you were in a STEM program, or whatever the situation is, you absolutely have to do your research.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have a community, because if you're not, at every turn there will be something to divide you. And it's clear and simple based on, look at an application. What is your gender? What is your race? What is your age? What is your level of education? Okay, I get it for some things, but why does gender and race and age matter for an entry-level position? It shouldn't.
No, it should not.
But anywhere you look, if you watch Fox News, they'll tell you one thing. If you watch CNN, it'll tell you complete opposite. If you read a local newspaper, it'll say this. But if you read the national newspaper, it'll say that. It's almost like everywhere you look, everything is to keep everyone divided. So you have to do your own research. You have to come together within your community, and it is absolutely fine to disagree on certain things.
Of course. course.
and have your disagreements and agree. But we can disagree on certain things and realize that we can still work together for the betterment of both of us than it is to completely shut each other off or cut each other off or not help each other because of a disagreement. And you see that with a lot of the stuff that is going on when a natural disaster hits.
Mm-hmm.
You will see all this rhetoric of, I'm voting for this person, I'm voting for that person, but what happens when a natural disaster hits? Neighbors come. They don't ask you what your gender is or your race or who you're voting for. They just show up and help.
Exactly.
And that is what the soul of America actually is. And if we can get enough people to support this organization to come together and say, we as a nation are not okay with this type of predatory lending or predatory laws affecting Americans anymore, it will have no choice but to change it.
JDM, I see you. Welcome in.
We have to stop letting the trivial things divide us.
Exactly. We're lucky we have a growing group of supporters. Point and Check is over on TikTok with Mr. John Deere with all the bazillions of gifts. Pappy, you better be keeping track or you're freaking fired.
Do what?
JDM is over on TikTok doing the gifty thingy thing. That is why we need our platforms to step up for veteran families. It doesn't matter our political differences, our religious differences, our skin colors, our identity preferences, how we homeschool or public school our children. At the end of the day, we all are going to be different in one way or more. It's just how it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to be cookie cutter. And you on Twitch, yes, I see that. I know.
Well, and that's the thing is, we're all paying the same thing at the grocery store, and we're all paying the same thing at the gas pump.
We are. I have such a hard time with separating people into classes because we already do that to each other anyway on many levels, and I hate it. But at the end of the day, this is about this country, and this is about the men and women who, even as far back as you can see in your family tree, somebody in your family at some point has served this country. It is because of them that we have the lives that we live today. And in one swift little swipe of the pen, overpaid politicians who are already bought and don't really give a shit about us are deciding the fate of who lives and who doesn't live. Because I'm telling you, at the end of the day, the unalive rate that we have growing, which we're looking at over 48 veterans a day take their lives. That was done in the deep dive. That was the reality that we're looking at. Get uncomfortable with it. Over 11 veteran spouses a day take their lives every single day. And over 7 veteran dependent children, babies, children, take their lives every single day. That is courtesy of independent research by the deep dive that was done, and they have a website that people can go support and show them some love. Those are stats that we should not have right now. We shouldn't. And it's not because of foreclosures, but it is a contributing factor. It is not because they don't want to work. It's because they're told they can't work. Or maybe they just cannot work. We seem to believe that people don't want to do anything but live off of the system. And that, my dear friends, is a 1% factor. 1% or less of the American population actually feels that way. They have learned how to play on your heartstrings. They have learned how to work the system. They're good at with their words and fanciness, and they hide their wealth, and they go out and they take and they take and they take. We are always going to have people who do that. What we are talking about are men and women and their families who have served this country so that we get to wake up every day and do and make all the choices and jobs and make the friends and connections that we all have the opinions, decide the things we're going to decide. It's because of them. If you're a streamer and you stream, then it's very easy for you to help us. Just give us a shout out. Let us know that you're doing it. You don't have to spend $1 on us. Every time you like, share, and follow, that is a huge thing for us. I know there are people who hate my guts. I don't really care. I do, but I don't. This is not about me. This is about the families, like Robert's family, who need this country to do what is right in a time when they consistently do what's wrong, and the people that are not suffering are the people that are using those pens to decide the fate of the people that they are absolutely killing off. We cannot combat the mental health crisis in this country if we don't address the underlying issues. And it is all connected together. Because if you think you can look at your children in the face and tell them, I'm sorry, you're not going to have anything to eat tonight because we just don't have it, I don't know what to do, and come on social media to try and find help and get told you shouldn't be asking for help just because you're a veteran, because you're not any more important than the rest of us, there's a problem. Their kids suffer.
So when you brought that up, I was living out in Arizona. I was trying to do a lot of community work for helping a lot of veterans in that area. Like I told you before, I was working with the county sheriff and talking to incarcerated veterans and stuff. Go to chain restaurants and ask them at the end of the night any food that they had to discard, instead of throwing it away, if they would give it to me so I could take it to veteran shelters or shelters and donate it and all that stuff, right? They were not allowed to. They had to discard it. They were not allowed to donate it.
Yep.
They were
Federal law
legally,
will not let you do that.
yeah, they were federally not allowed to donate that food. And I was like, what? Now, here's what's crazy. Local mom and pop shops, they would do it anyway.
Yep.
It would be like, yeah, here, we got a little bit extra food. Here you go. Don't worry about it.
Yep. Your national chains will not do it, but your locals, they will bend over backwards to help you if you can prove that it's going to the right cause.
Yes.
Good night, JD.
But these national multi-million-dollar corporations will not do it. They are federally bound to not do that.
Yep, they can
easier for them to throw it away and waste it than it is to donate it.
Now they can give it to food banks and stuff like that, but they have to have that 501c3 stuff behind their name.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. There's a paper trail that has to be documented that they gave it to a nonprofit. They get how much they gave it to, what the dollar amount of it was worth, all that crap. And to me, it was just like, because growing up in high school, like my first job, I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. Next, I worked at Pizza Hut. And if we messed up an order, we couldn't give it to the customer. So bad food was just there, right? So either we ate it or threw it away or whatever. So at the end of the night, if we messed up a pizza, like, hey, there's a pizza, who wants to take it home? If not, it's got to go in the trash. Look, I was a young kid. I was in high school. Okay. So then as I got older and I got out of the Army, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go to Pizza Hut and be like, hey, got any messed up pizzas? Sorry, we're not allowed to do that. Well, what do you mean? There's like literally a veteran shelter right here. Like people are starving and you have 3 pizzas you're throwing away. Oh, I'm sorry, we're not allowed. We're legally not allowed to give you the food. We can't donate it to you. You can buy it. They would throw it away. It's like there's people starving right here, and you cannot. You are legally obligated to destroy it, and it blew my mind.
Yep.
But it's things like this that a lot of people don't realize are on the books, or that are regulations or laws or code that have to be followed.
Now, part of the reason they had to do that was to protect the corporate, the organizations that could have done this, because if you give food to someone that was messed up, that was a messed up order, or that's extra at the end of the day, that person gets sick off of that food you gave them, they could turn around and sue the company they got that from.
Yep.
That's why that law is now on the books, was because of stupid lawsuits that, I can pretend that I got sick off of this because such and such restaurant gave me food, and then I can make money off of it.
Yeah.
So
and the sad thing is that, I mean, we can sit here and talk about how there's a lot of federal regulations that make things bad for people, but on the turn side of that, it's because a lot of people did dumb things to make it so these have to exist.
Yep.
And point being, I found this out a couple of years ago, but in the state of Oklahoma, which is landlocked in the middle of the country, back in, I don't remember the years, it's 18 or 19, early 1900s, something like that. One of their laws, in order to have a certain type of crop grown there, made it illegal to kill a whale in the state of, like a whale, like, a sea creature in
Right.
the state of Oklahoma. And it's like, but there's no ocean. You're not going to have a whale in Oklahoma. So why did that have to be a stipulation to get this law passed? Now, I don't know what was going on in the state of Oklahoma at that time. I don't know if they were like transporting whale parts or, I have no idea. But you look at it and you're like, there was something, that law exists for a reason. And so when you look at the laws that are on the books now, and you look at the codes that they write, and you look at the things that are allowed, like, why is it a credit card is allowed to charge you 40% interest? Why is that legal?
Yeah.
Why is it, legal to go to a car dealership and you have a guaranteed, as long as you have some sort of income, you get a guaranteed loan, but the interest is so high you end up paying on it for 13 years, even though the car's only going to last 4. Why is that legal?
And then you have to make it last the next 13.
Yeah. And so it's like, there's certain things that should not be, that are very, very predatory towards not just veterans in the front, but towards all Americans, that should absolutely be outlawed. The only way those get changed is if we stand up and we say that's gotta stop.
Yep. And I used to tell Amy this from the beginning. We get the veteran housing situation fixed, we're going to be able to take care of a heck of a lot more people, because what we do for them eventually rolls downhill for everybody else. Because what's happening to our vets, if you don't think that they can't turn around and make it work for everybody else eventually, you need to stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Because when the banks figure out how they can take what they're doing with the veteran loans and turn around and do it with conventional loans, y'all are going to be owned by the banks.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was working in Arizona with the legislature, there was used to be a Motel 6, and then it got closed down for whatever reason. It was just sitting there abandoned. They put a fence up around it, and it was just sitting there. And VA has a program, Voc Rehab, where you go through a training or education to learn a skill, whatever, to get a job, right?
Right.
And my thought process was, okay, so I asked the representatives I was working with and the people at the VA and said, so why don't we use Voc Rehab to take veterans who are homeless and to teach them plumbing, electrical, carpentry, gardening, everything they need to upkeep this building. And the VA turns around and buys this building. Veterans who went through this program get to live in this abandoned motel. You have an electrician who can do all the electrical work because he went through Voc Rehab and got the training to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And in exchange for living there at a discounted rate or for free for a certain period of time until whatever, he does the electrical work, kind of like earning his keep, right?
Yep.
Same thing with the plumbing and the carpentry and all that stuff, and basically make it like a community where all the upkeep is done by the residents who live there.
Yep.
All veterans.
Everybody brings their skills, and their skills are used to keep the community going.
Exactly. And they told me that they could not do that because the state would not zone it for that, because that would make it commercial.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but it's commercial because it was a hotel anyway. But because the veterans would
Hi,
be
Sam.
living there and they wouldn't be paying the taxes as far as like, because the hotel would be the commercial aspect of it, of,
Yep.
they pay the, because it wouldn't be classified as that, the state wouldn't let the VA buy it. Okay, so then go to the zoning commission, ask them to reclassify it as a residential area. They can't do that because if it was a residential area, it would be only zoned as an R1, meaning only one dwelling on it. But because it was a hotel and there would be multiple rooms, it would have more than one technical house on it, so it couldn't be rezoned as residential. So it's like instead you're going to have an abandoned building and you're going to have homeless veterans, and you can't put the two together because of bureaucratic tape.
Yeah, I hate that. Can we
Yeah,
pause for
absolutely.
1 second? Because we got new people in the chat again and they don't know what is going on. So I am not playing a game tonight. I might later, but that depends on my head because it's been a long, busy day. But all of you guys know that Robert came into my live last night while I was live streaming and playing. I'm dealing with other drama as well, which is starting to piss me off. And he asked a question that nobody really has asked me in a long time, which I think is part of the reason why I was going to walk away from all this, because I didn't feel like it was worth trying to put myself through and ultimately going to end my life over, because it's costing me my health. Because I couldn't figure out what I was not saying to get people to support more than what they have been. Because it's not really about money for us. That does help us in a huge way, especially since we are self-funded until we can get our 501c3 in the next couple weeks and can go after grants and corporate donations. But we are talking right now with Robert. Him and his family were going through the very things that we've been talking about, and actually we're kind of talking about a bunch of things that are all kind of tying in together, because that's what we're supposed to be sticking to. So if you're watching from the outside and you're wondering what's going on, that is what we're doing. I let him have a platform, and we will keep doing this, to share the stories of these families and give them a platform to be able to talk. We can't do this without you guys. Again, it's not about the money. It's about you showing up and staying and listening, sharing out the lives, letting people hear these stories and understand that this is an ongoing, growing problem. Oh my God, I'm about ready to shut my phone off. That this is a growing problem, and that we cannot allow this to keep happening, because the more that we allow them to lose their homes, the more it is costing this country a fortune. The banks get their money either way. The VA gets their money back either way. The veterans keep losing. Not only do they add additional financial and debt hardships to their already existing problems, which cause them to have to suffer in the first place, but their families are going to be separated if they have to go into a shelter, because that's the VA's answer. There was no magic button. There was no grant that's going to save these families. These are families with VA mortgages, and they were treated differently than conventional mortgages from the very beginning. We know this is true because you can go to the VA website and see it. Go watch the NPR article on their investigation into whether I'm telling the truth or not, because they already proved everything from the very beginning. In fact, they saw the same problems that I saw back in 2014, only they're basing their info off of COVID, because the COVID forbearances are what caused these families to have this problem in the first place. So your support is everything to these families. Every time you show up, you're showing them that you actually give a care about them, and that's what we want. We're trying to build a growing platform that is safe, that is educational, that offers them the ability to see the resources and the direction for them to be able to go in their states. We have been so lucky to have him cross paths with us, because he already had so much knowledge that I didn't even have to really say anything to him. So it's so great that he's going to be able to agree to kind of spearhead the KOVH Georgia chapter of the KOVH, and we have to continue growing. It's not an easy job. It's a whole lot of researching. It's a whole lot of fact-finding and vetting and talking to people. But each of you that live in these different states have better knowledge of your state than I will have being here in California, because I'm already in the nut state. They're already anti-everything here, except if you're and someone who's coming here from another country. We have money for wars. We have money for other countries. We have money for everything overseas. But we can't even afford a couple payments on a mortgage to help these veterans keep their houses and to keep, them in their jobs so that they can feed themselves. Hand ups are what these veteran families are owed. Hand ups. They are not handouts. The only people that are in this country that are getting handouts right now are those people who are using their little fancy pens on their $100,000+ a year salaries with all those billion-dollar investments that are deciding the fate of these families. They're doing nothing to help them. So that's kind of what we are doing. Pappy, I gotta go get the groceries. I'll be right back.
All right, folks. Here's what we need to do. We need to obviously keep tapping the screen, sharing things out. We are going to need you to join us on Discord. If you want to join us on Discord, all you gotta do is go to the tree of links that's in the bio. There is a link that takes you right into our Discord channel, and it'll bring you right in. You'll go in, you'll have to read the rules and agree to them and all that stuff. It won't take you very long. Then you can start interacting with us. We've got several different channels there that we're working on, creating more as we go along. I just created a state channel for the state chapters that we will be building. All right, now we've got California, Georgia, and Iowa is slowly taking shape because I'll be leading the charge here in Iowa. But we need more people to step up to the plate and say, "Hey, I'll feed me the information. What do I need to do? What can I do to get this out in my state?" Because you know what, we're going to need to know where y'all are from and who wants to help us out and where. So if you want to get in touch with us and learn more, I have posted our email address a few times in this chat. It is kovhfoundation@gmail.com. All you got to do is send your message in. I will get it. And depending on what area it covers in the KOVH family, I will make sure it gets to the appropriate person because I handle all the information for the whole family, for the whole KOVH family. Amy is our founder. Roger and KJ and Cody handle the online presence information. I handle special activities and events. So there we go. We also have Burnt, who is our offline representative. And then we have Skulls, who is our tech guy. So we've got several different folks there. If you know of something if you've got information that you think we can use, obviously send it to the email address at kovhfoundation@gmail.com. Now, with that all said, I want to invite you to go to our webpage, keepourvetshoused.org. That's keepourvetshoused.org. When you go there, you're going to click on the side that says KOVH Foundation side. That's the one that's underway. The other side is, or the KOVH side, which is on the left screen. The foundation is on the right side. We're still working on that one. We're trying to work some things out with that. But if you go in, you click on the left side of your screen, you'll be brought into KOVH's main webpage. There you will see across the top several different options. One of them is our blog. Our blog has all the latest postings that Amy has put in there. If you're a vet and you're in a situation like Robert's family, you can't. There is a blog there that should still be the very first one, unless Amy has added something since last night. But you click on it, it'll have after you read through it, at the bottom of that blog, there is a link that'll take you to allowing to request some assistance. Now, we can't guarantee that we can help financially, but we might be able to help you find resources in your community. We just need some basic facts about you, and that's what the questionnaire will be for. But you click on that, answer the questions. That's just the starting point. We're going to have probably to get some more background information and stuff like that, but that's just a starting point. We will try to get you all the information we can get for you. So you're going to want to check out the blog for information there, obviously. Also, the main shop that we use that Amy sells items through, you're going to see it right there on the left side of the screen is the KOVH shop. A lot of the items that Amy makes that you're going to see in the sale that we're going to do this weekend, I'm going to figure out what day she wants to do it, and we're going to start advertising it tomorrow. But I've got an idea what day would be best. I want to see if she agrees.
I don't agree.
But, yeah, I know. You never agree with me. Even though I'm usually so sometimes
You're fired.
even
You're
though
fired.
sometimes small percentage sometimes right, or at
You're
least
never
talking
right.
reasonable. But go check out the webpage. It's got all kinds of information there, and you can purchase some things that Amy has made that's in the shop. All that money that you spend there goes back to helping KOVH by helping us keep the webpage going, keep the information going out, keeps allows us to buy new materials so that she can make new items to put in the shop. So there's all the business side. Amy, take it away.
I just ordered wood rounds using the Prime deal thingy, so yay, I'm going to have some new ones. I didn't get the 14-inch ones, though.
You got the 12s?
Yeah, because they come with the pre-drill with the holes. And
Yeah.
those are easier than the 14. I can find them, but they're like $40. So I was like, no, I'm not going to go down that road. Yeah. And they're thin. They're so thin that when I use the
drill?
The wood burning pen, I was
Oh, yeah?
actually, it was warping and curving, so we don't want that at all. Angel, go lay down.
And I tell you what, guys, she makes some pretty awesome stuff. I've got two pieces of the items that she has made on my wall. One is a wood round. The other one is a piece of canvas art. Oh, actually, I got three pieces. One was a greeting card that she made that I framed because it was too good to. It was too awesome looking to use to send as a greeting card.
I got to work on those. We're actually, I'm working on the designs for the KOVH Merry Christmas ones. Although Pappy and I were talking about ones last night. I'm not going to say what because it's my idea. But it was a cute one. It was such a cute one. Because we forget, you guys, that veterans are also farmers and truckers. And so because our VP is actually, he runs his own amazing farm that he's always busy with. Roger is the vice president, of course, of KOVH Foundation. He's like my second in command. He also was the only person that has put up with me for as long as he has, outside of Dave, who I don't think fared well with that. But he is a farmer, and so I thought of a lot of cute ideas that I could do with that. But don't forget that we have the wood rounds that say "Get plowed by a pro, sleep with the farmer." That one is still available. So is the "So God Made a Farmer" round. I've got to work on the ones for the truckers. I know, guys. I'm sorry. I have to keep working on that. But I have been so behind in everything, and I pretty much am doing so much that only I can do on this side of things, which I couldn't do if it were not for Moore and his amazing group of people who actually built and sent me this gigantic computer that looms over my brain. I don't feel like I deserve it, but it's because of that computer that I'm able to still do this because mine died. So I'm lucky as far as that goes. We also want to make sure we're thinking as often as we can all of our community partners and supporters. We're going to get monthly coffee donated to us by All in a Day's Work. He is an actual combat vet in Washington. He started All in a Day's Work. It is actually a legitimate 501c3. They're donating coffee every month. Every other month we'll get a 1-pound bag of their blend, and then every other month in between that will be the K-Cup. So this month is a K-Cup month. Pappy needs to stay on top of that and remind her because she'll forget. So when we pull our winner, we're going to give their name to them and they'll send them directly to you. So you're actually supporting, by supporting us, two different groups. You guys have to be supporting all of the veteran bases. Look, we are coming up in one of the busiest times of years, and it also was a very hard one for these families because it is very difficult to think about Thanksgiving and Christmas when you're worried about feeding your family and giving them a Christmas at all. And it's not about tons of Christmas presents under the tree. We're talking about these are families that are not getting by. Like my family, that's not even a thing for us. We're lucky if we even can get enough stuff at Thanksgiving that we can have Thanksgiving dinner. And even then, it never looks like what I grew up with. There are families who are going to lose everything just because there is no help for them. There's no magic button. There is no grant. There's nothing. The options for VA mortgages are really limited to the same few that have always existed. And if you don't qualify, which most of these don't, then they're at the mercy of their communities and their states, which are continuously failing them. So we want to make sure that KOVH remains a positive platform that is all inclusive. We're not going to judge you by how you got there. It doesn't matter why you're behind in things. Because you served, you deserve better. And that is just what we're going to keep pushing because it matters. I don't know how you get more Twitch followers except to go into lives and hang around them, and if they like your content, then they're going to follow you. I don't want you to get bananaed off of my platform.
Yeah.
So we don't want to cross promote streams anyway, so make sure that you don't come in talking about that you're going to go live or that you're trying to get people to come follow you and do your stream, because that actually is a big no-no for every streamer. But this is a non-profit before it is anything else. And the next 2 weeks, we're going to be doing everything we can to raise the money for our 501c3, Hi Red. And that has to happen. If we don't have it happen by the end of the month, we're going to be on the hook for paying California $850 just because we exist, which is just disgraceful for me. But it is what it is. I know we can do it, so I'm not worried about it. But keep in mind, though, that the holidays are around the corner, and that is the last thing on these families' minds. I don't think they're giving a rat's butt about Santa Claus and Christmas presents when they're worried about keeping a roof over their kids' heads. And they are the faces that I see every night when I close my eyes. It's because they don't understand. They're too young. And I can't imagine what it is like to have to come home and tell your children, we're going to have to eat once a day or once every other day because we don't have the money and I can't figure out how to solve this. When you make too much for state aid and not enough to pay your bills, there's a problem. And it's not because people are bad with money. It's because there are no programs helping them get back on their feet, so they keep falling further behind, and that's by design. We're never going to agree on everything all the time anyway, but that's why we say we do not discuss religion or politics. We know everything comes back to politics, but we are not going to promote one person or party over another because we don't participate in that. This is a governmental crisis issue. This is a national housing crisis issue. We have unaffordable living in a country that continues to increase its interest rates and continue to increase the cost of living while wages are not keeping up. And this is what happens as a result of that. Anybody want some dogs? Because these ones are driving me nuts.
Nope, sorry. Angel, what are you doing to make mommy
Nope,
nuts?
that is Kaiser.
Oh, what's Kaiser doing?
I don't know, but he has become so vocal lately, it's not even funny. That's
wow.
Angel. So I've got
It's
husky
after-
drama and Akita drama.
It's after 12:30 and I gotta be up in 6 hours.
You
so
need
I'm
to
gonna
go to bed.
But I'm friends with local business owners here. So let's talk tomorrow offline.
Yes, of course.
I'm excited about getting Georgia set up and all that.
I'm excited for you.
So I'm really excited to.
Welcome to the
be a part of this,
KOVH
and
family.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm happy to
You're
be
gonna
part of the
regret
team.
that.
And we will have you back again. Uh-oh, Amy, we lost your feed.
Oh no. Okay, hold on.
Oh, wait, it's back.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to join the team, and I'm really looking forward to getting started out here and working together.
I'm
So
excited
let's
for
talk
you.
tomorrow offline, and let's get some things going, and
Yep.
I'll talk to some
You get some
people I
sleep.
know. And, yeah, well, I'm excited about this, and thank you so much for having me on. Let me tell my story.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
Run with the gifts. We will talk to you tomorrow.
Absolutely, I will try to play around with Discord some more tomorrow and figure out how to work this thing more.
We will help you.
I appreciate it. Y'all have a great night, and thank you so much.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Do you want to take a break and reset?
I need to reconfigure my brain. I am having another issue that I have to deal with.